Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Cleft Palate Craniofacial Journal's video and audio podcast. I'm Pat Chibbaro. Happy August. Hope you're all having a great summer. And I'm really, really excited about this paper because it brings me back to my early days as a nurse practitioner at NYU. It's a great paper, and everybody definitely needs to read it. And it is in the September 2025, so it's the latest issue of the Cleft Palate Craniofacial Journal. And I have two of the authors here with me, and the paper is Accuracy of Cranial Shape Measurements Using Smartphones, a Prospective Study. And we all love prospective studies. They're the best. And the authors are many, and they're very challenging. So bear with me as I say their names. And I told the two authors who are with me, if they laugh at me, they're in trouble. So it's John Koja Bakanya, Regina Fenton, Susan Gaetani, Farishta Alamifar, Marius George Lingurahu, and Reza Saifabadi. Not bad. and Regina and Susan are from University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and all the other guys are from Pediametrics. And so I have with me John and Reza. Thanks so much, guys, for joining me to discuss this really great paper. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for
So, and let me just say that this paper is in the Ideas and Innovation section. So I wanted to point that out to you guys who haven't read it yet. Definitely read it. And I have my phone, and I looked up the app, the Soft Spot app, which we'll talk about. So I would love to know first, and I always ask this question, and either of you can start or you can both jump in, is what motivated you to do this study? Always want to know, why you decided to put it, because it's a lot of time and effort to do a study.
Yes. So, John, if you allow me, I would start. So my name is Dr. Reza Saifabadi. I am the senior author in this paper. So I am a scientist turned entrepreneur. So I studied, I was trained at Johns Hopkins and spent 1 year at Children's National Hospital. And I was also a scientist at NIH for a few years. But the reason we started the company was because I, as a parent, experienced head deformity for my older son. So, as you know, Back to Sleep campaign started in 1990s, and nowadays there are more and more babies that develop head deformities. And we realized that this is something that is sometimes get underdiagnosed, or if you lose the early opportunity or the window of early diagnosis, there's a higher likelihood to go through helmet therapy, which is expensive and cumbersome. But this is quite preventable, and this is what we saw as a gap in pediatric offices and also for parents of newborns. And that was the initial motivation to start a company and make something that can be used in practice, by parents, by pediatricians, by physical therapists who can benefit from this. And so that was the initial idea, and that's why we were very excited, and we are still here after a few years. So we it's not only it comes from our background in pediatrics and medical imaging, but also a personal drive as parents, who wants to make something, to do some research that are meaningful, and can impact, patients' lives.
So, before we started, I was telling both of you, that this is sort of near and dear to me, this whole issue of deformational plagiocephaly, because I had started in the late 1980s, and in 1992, which was 1992 is when the American Academy of Pediatrics actually came out with the recommendation for babies to be sleeping on their back or on their side. And so at that point, in our clinic, we went from seeing zero children with deformational plagiocephaly to many children, to the point where many clinics, and even now, have developed their own plagiocephaly clinics, because there were so many kids coming to craniofacial that we decided that we would move them into a separate clinic, many of which are run by nurse practitioners. And that was one of the things that I did. I saw a lot of kids myself with deformational plagiocephaly, because so much of it was about educating parents, and so and it was just then I think to realize that this is something that, to this day is still an issue all these years later, I think is really something that, lends itself to what what can we do to, to really help with this. And so I'm really glad, I was just really glad to see this paper. So why don't you maybe run us through the paper, give us a little bit of a summary of it, and then I have some questions for you about the app that you guys have developed, which is amazing.
Sure. So I think I would let John like speak over the paper.
Yeah, let me summarize. So the paper involves a prospective study of 71 patients that we scanned in through pretty much measured their cranial parameters of through three means. So the same patients' heads were measured with the smartphone app, which is SoftSpot, as well as calipers, which is what's normally used for the cranial index. For those that don't know, is to get the how round the head is, like maybe how oval or circular the head is described by this index. The cranial wall asymmetry index, which measures the symmetry and we use for plagiocephaly, as well as cranial wall asymmetry in millimeters as well. So we measured these and then also a 3D scan of the head was taken at an orthotics clinic, and then the same measurement was performed on this shape. So we compared these. Basically, the idea is to compare the accuracy of the smartphone measurement to the caliper, which is the standard tool used in this. But because there's some, calipers have their own inter-user variability as well. We wanted to have a third option, like the 3D scanned head, as kind of like an anchor and ground truth to compare both against, so that we can see how all three compare to each other. So yeah, the nurse practitioners measured the calipers and used the SoftSpot app, and then the orthotist measured the 3D shape, and then we received images from the app that we analyzed. So we pretty much segmented the head shape and denosed it as the two landmarks we use for this measurement. And using our algorithm, we measured cranial index and cranial asymmetry index, which we published in this paper. If you want, I can detail more about the analysis, but that's the gist of it.
I think that Reza, did you want to jump in?
Yes, I wanted to first of all give you an overview. Why did we do this study? Where this is coming from? So SoftSpot, our product, is a software as a medical device. As a result, it is regulated by the FDA, the federal, the Food and Drug Administration. So you cannot commercialize, a product before showing to the FDA about its accuracy and its safety. So the first thing we wanted to show is that SoftSpot is substantially equivalent to what is used by clinicians as a standard of care. So what do physicians use when it comes to head shape measurements? Head shape, not head size measurement. It's a caliper or craniometer that's used by, your colleagues, Patricia, in the clinic, or by neurosurgeons, plastic surgeons. So when we submitted our study, or what it is called a pre-submission to the FDA, they asked us, that we need to show to them that our measurement, which is different technology, like we use software, are equivalent to what is measured by caliper. So that's why we could get funding from National Science Foundation to run such a study. And that's why Regina and Susan, who were at the time, working at UPMC were excited about this. So this is a novel study that can show that a software that is going to be used by lay users can produce as accurate of measurements as a human expert, which is in this case a nurse who has used caliper for a long time. So I think this is the essence of this study, and that's why we conducted this study. And in this study, we compare the measurements done by SoftSpot head to head with what a caliper measures, and both of us in comparison with the 3D scanner, which is the ultimate uh, accurate measurement tool. So, in other words, compare SoftSpot with an expert when they use a caliper. Both of us compare to a 3D scan.
Yeah, I think that, just having had the experience of having patients come to me very late, and we were talking about that earlier. When you come so late, you can't use those conservative measures anymore. I mean, the repositioning and, the tummy time and all those things that if this was detected earlier, either by, a pediatrician, a pediatric nurse practitioner, the parent, when the kids are coming to me when they're 5 or 6 months old already, then, then it's a little bit, then we're moving towards a helmet. So I think this technology, is very important. And I think it was important, to your point, that you went to the clinicians who do this every day, to the nurse practitioner, because I can tell you, if you look at all the teams around the country, many of them are going to these deformational plagiocephaly clinics that are run by nurse practitioners. So I was really glad to see that that's who you chose, because it's very much, it's very valid. It really resonates with all of us in the craniofacial community. So I was really glad to see that you did that, because those are the people that are really doing it. And so I guess, one of my questions is, and one thing that's really interesting is the timing of this is good, because as we know, in April of this year, the Back to Sleep campaign was stopped, by this present administration, which, is really, so that decreases the amount of education that parents are getting about this condition. So I was very concerned to see that happen. But then when I saw your paper, I thought, okay, so now, we've got something that we can help parents with. So I guess my question to you now is, what's the current state of this app in terms of getting it into the hands of clinicians and parents? What's your plan, or what are you already doing? Because one thing I did, as I was reading the paper and looking at the app, is I screenshot it, sent it to my daughter. My daughter's a pediatrician in New Hampshire. And I said, do you know about this app? And she said, no. And so then I sent your paper to her along with, the screenshot of the app. And so I think that, it's something that I would love to see all practices be able to have. So what are you doing moving forward with this?
Yes, so I think what set this paper apart is that it is about a product that is already in the market. So right now, SoftSpot is being used by, I believe, about 60 practices across the country. Over 3,000 measurements or reports have been generated by this product, and the number is increasing. I think we are at the stage to raise awareness about our product through social media, through going to exhibitions, for example, American Academy of Pediatrics, or like APTA Pediatrics, like we have been in this exhibition. So it is in commercial use, and we are just making it better, adding new features to it, which are probably not in this paper. For example, using AI to screen the images that the user take, to automatically select the good images, or to automatically generate a report, which significantly decrease the turnaround time to generate a report. And I just, so just in summary, we are, commercializing it and raising awareness, through multiple, avenues.
But you can download it today, so it's out there. And
Yes.
what Reza has described so far is pretty much what's out there today. So, like he said, there's like some automation and like user, I guess, comfort features that are in there. And in terms of data collection, we try to guide the user so that to make it as seamless as possible. And I guess the future of the app is to make the process more and more seamless for the user, so that it can be used by kind of it's to remove any barriers that might make you get lazy and not use this app, because we want it to be not only available, but we want you to gravitate towards using this app for your purposes.
So one question I have is, so that if this is available to both parents and to providers. So if a parent downloads this, puts, and then is starting to use it, what are your instructions to them? Because if are they to check in with their provider first, let them know that they're doing this? How, what, and then
Yeah.
do they get feedback from the app? So, what's the, just sort of give me a run through of how that works for them.
Yes, I think parents can download the app and use it and get the measurements, but they only get the measurements. And for interpretation, they can either schedule a 10 minutes free consultation within the app by one of the experts in our platform, or they can bring it to their pediatrician. So that's one way. The other way is they get it through their providers. So right now, like I said, there are 60 practices across the country who have adopted SoftSpot, and they use it on a regular basis for their screening of their patients. So in that case, the provider, scan the patients, or they can even let parents do it at home. So it's quite flexible, but it's open to providers to use it directly, or for parents who don't have their providers on our platform to download it and use it on their own.
So I'm guessing that we're going to see some follow-up to see, the results of parents using this. Is it resulting in less helmet use? What do we expect to see next? Because that was my next thought is, parents are now using this. Are we going to be putting the helmet companies out of business?
No, I don't think so. I think we just empowered parents to get early measurements, and if they can, do preventive, approaches. But what they need to do is completely under to them and up to them and to their providers. I think we have no say in this process. We try to stay focused on what we are best, which is to generate accurate measurements and then empower providers and parents to do the right decision. But sometimes it can also help them if they need a helmet. They can do it sooner than later, because the sooner you do it, the less amount of time you stay in helmet, and you
Right.
can graduate from it. So I think at the end of the day is a win for everybody.
John, any other thought about that? I see you shaking your head there.
No, I agree. I think it's very smart at the end of the day, it's up to the parent and the provider to decide. So, like Reza said, we are a measuring company, and it's the point is to empower others, not tell them what to do. So we give them the measurement as best we can, and then we try to provide them the information they need to make the best decision for them and the child in question. So
so then right now, so for example, at UPMC, and I don't know if you have a handle on how many other craniofacial teams are using SoftSpot, either in addition to using the calipers or instead of using the calipers. Do you have any handle on that?
Yes. So our primary customers, like providers, not parents, who use
Yes.
our product, are small practices, across the country who either do not use a caliper, or they use a caliper, but they are looking for a better solution. So we are targeting a smaller, practices who have, as a small business, because they have a shorter sales cycle, and easier to start working together. But they see a lot of benefits over caliper. For example, they mentioned that consistent accuracy, independence from the user experience, babies not liking the caliper touching them is,
That's what I was going to say is
yeah,
put that
exactly.
thing on a baby's head, they're not going to like it. A lot
Yes,
easier.
and more importantly, the report and the graph that we show them that shows the progress or otherwise. So they see it valuable because they can communicate the progress with parents and make a decision easier together.
Right. So what are we going to see from you in the future? Because I'm thinking that, as I was saying before, I would like to be seeing what's next in terms of what the results are from using this. Is that something we might be seeing in future papers?
I think John can. So we are working on multiple initiatives. So one of them is to add cranial synostosis to the report. So right now, this paper is only about plagiocephaly, brachycephaly, and non-synostotic conditions. So I think for your audience, this is probably we don't need to define what we are talking about. But the next thing is cranial synostosis. So it's pretty uncommon compared to positional plagiocephaly, but it's also could be morbid and can damage the brain. So if it's underdiagnosed, so we are using artificial intelligence and top view pictures to differentiate synostotic versus non-synostotic head shapes. And we have done some publications already, but actually John is leading another study that we have finished, and we are going to show that actually top view pictures can, and also 3D imaging can, with AI can, accurately differentiate non-synostotic versus synostotic. And the importance is early detection means benefiting from non-invasive or minimal invasive surgeries, like using a small incision instead of like open, craniectomy, which is like pretty invasive for little ones.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of the studies we are doing next. We have a few other things, but I also, I can elaborate if it's interesting for you.
Yeah, I think your question is like it's a very interesting next step to think about, right? Like using this on a like prospectively on a population to see uh how what it actually does, right?
Mhm.
In a population of people. I think I should have, we haven't really done work on that, or at least haven't considered very seriously something like this, just because of I think it's a difficult thing to plan, get a control group for, etc. So,
Mhm.
but I think it's a very interesting idea. I mean, that would probably be a very um, convincing display of what this actually accomplishes in the real world. So,
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
something we should consider.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's great. I can't believe AI is coming into the craniofacial world. Yes, it's everywhere. No, I think it's great. Having seen deformation and plagiocephaly developing and still being an issue all these years later. To
Mm.
see technology that can help parents and help providers to detect this and manage it earlier is a good thing. And so. Before I sign off, is there anything else you might want to tell the listeners about your work, about your paper? Any last thoughts?
I think the questions were pretty good, so I don't have much else to add. If you don't have any other questions.
Yes, I just want to appreciate the opportunity, and if in your audience, so they want to like more information, would be happy to like provide those information.
Well, you should get a booth at our American Club Palate Association annual meeting because all the teams will be there, and I think it'd be really interesting for them to know about this. The meeting is next April, I believe, in Boston. So something to think about to expose that to the craniofacial world. It would be really interesting. So let me just once again tell you about this really interesting paper in this current issue of the Cleft Palate Craniofacial Journal, September 2025, in the Ideas and Innovation section, accuracy of cranial shape measurements using smartphones, a prospective study. And it's really, really interesting. I'm really glad to see it. I want to thank John and Reza, the two of the authors of this paper, for spending time talking to me about it today. I'm Pat Chibbaro, and I hope you have a great rest of the summer. Take care.